Hey everybody, Biohacking Blondes here. I'm here with Alex, and we're very excited today because we have an incredible guest. Her name is Lauren Leiva. She's a doctor of physical therapy who uniquely blends ancient wisdom with modern medicine, creating a holistic approach that addresses the mind, body, spirit, and heart. Her practice at the Exerscience Center in Tampa, Florida, serves a diverse range of patients from families to professional athletes with a focus on compassionate and transformative care. A devoted mom, wife, and yogi, Dr. Leiva embodies a nurturing spirit that transcends her professional role. Her teachings advocate for a new generation of doctors who integrate emotional, energetic, and intellectual healing. Dr. Leiva's own journey from patient to healer is a powerful testament to resilience and self-healing. Welcome, Dr. Leiva. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, we're so excited. We see you all the time at all of these biohacking conferences and everything. And whenever I think of you, I think of like just someone who's like skipping through the aisles, like so happy.
Oh, yes,
Like
always.
like that's like your energy, and you're always doing like a yogi move or something. And I
Oh,
feel like
man.
no one would ever know what you've been through because you are just like such a happy, like full, like energetic person. So I would love if you could tell everybody a little bit about your story, your healing journey, because we heard you give a talk on it at the Faena, actually at the Ultra Wellness Center, and we were so moved, like basically in tears about
Mm.
your journey. So just give us a little bit of a taste of that so everybody kind of knows where you're coming from.
Uh, well, it started very, very young, which is so funny that you mentioned how I fly down the aisles and all of that and
Yeah.
dance my way through life because I remember in graduate school and even anatomy or cadaver lab when we had the hardest exams with toothpicks and all of these different organs with A, B, C, and we had to write what it was, like old school style. We had to go from center to center for our test. And we had a stool to sit on. And everybody was so serious, practical exam. And I would circle in my chair and everybody would get so pissed off, like, why are you so happy? And I'm like flying around. I wouldn't even stand up. I would just like ice skate from one station to the other and like pick the answer. And they're like, you effing bitch, what's that? Like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, when you've been through so much, when you've been crushed down, it's really beautiful thing to feel that pressure in different situations and be able to instantly come out of it and elevate yourself no matter where you are. And as I've traveled through my journey of when did this start, which plant medicine helped me get to the roots of that, which was beyond myself into my mother's history and our ancestral pain that we all carry.
Mhm.
But with my own story, as a child having Crohn's disease, bad health care. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of, family dynamics in the home. So a little bit of abuse or neglect, things that a lot of people experience and don't talk about, manifested in my body because I was a scholar and an ice skater and I maintained a good outer shell. Um, I stored a lot and I just pushed forward like a lot of us do. And that's how the disease really got deep down in my body and not having the proper, insurance and maintenance and all of that. I kind of got lost in the medical system. So I was on prednisone way too long. Every medicine caused something else. And it just really deteriorated my body. However, it's like they say, oh, when you're young, you're bendable, right? So we don't really, it's sometimes it doesn't catch up with us till we're even 20 or 30 or 40. But as a child, I mean, I developed osteoporosis by the time I was in my, I think, early 20s when they were giving me a bone scan in my hands and my arms from all of the prednisone. And I just had so many surgeries from intestinal resections. I had my intestines dilated every 2 years since I was 13 so I could go
Wow.
to the bathroom and I would self dilate. I learned how to be a pelvic floor therapist, but and now that I'm older and I know what I know, it's like nobody ever looked at how can we and again I always say just like I did the other day at the conference with Alex, that with the cancer event, that any really, really intelligent person can argue a root cause all day, because we could go into environmental pollution and our soil and our food, and we could go down, psychosomatic pathways and ancestral pathways, right? But nobody really was helping me. They were just really helping me survive one more day. Like,
Yeah.
dilate your intestines, but how could, like, nobody did allergy testing, nobody did DNA testing. They just said, oh, you're the worst disease we've ever found. So it's kind of like I was written off, but over time I had to develop that mind over matter. But it truly wasn't until I got pregnant that I wanted to find a natural, better solution,
Mhm.
because we can hold so much pain. It's funny how us humans can do that. But when we're in charge of somebody else or you're pregnant, I didn't want one bit of poison to go into my child.
Mhm.
And I shocked my body overnight by just when I found out, because I was also told, again, part of my story. I had a trauma when I was 13, and I haven't shared that publicly yet, but I never thought I would have kids. So when I got pregnant, I was grateful, and I wanted to do everything I could to support the development of the child.
Mhm.
And I just went overnight from being on all of these medicines: prednisone, acetylcholine, flagyl, Remicade infusions, um, 6-mercaptopurine. All these things make you lose your hair. I had teeth decay. Everything was just so off. And overnight, that's where I love plant medicine. I was one of the first person in Florida with my medical marijuana card, and that
Mhm.
comes with a lot of bias and heavy energy. My children go to private school, so it's been a hard journey for not only me but my family to support my path.
Mhm.
And I'm just grateful for it all, because really, it's the support is there, and it's balanced with everything. So I think those are the things that brought me to where how I built my center is really fixing myself. And doing no harm first is so important to me, because many people know my mother was killed in 2019 by medical malpractice. So I have an internship at my clinic, and that is the 100% priority for me to give to the future doctors of physical therapy. Or we have all different types of students that come through, even people that want students that are graduating from medical school. So they'll come for an experience, and to do no harm first is the most important thing. And that applies to biohacking, because I actually have been at a conference and my blood pressure went through the roof because I went from one IV, and then I was asking the guy doing my IV all these questions. And I realized in that moment, and he had no idea what he's talking about. And whoever's booth that wasn't there. And I'm like, I was feeling a certain type of way. And then right when my blood pressure went up 20 points, I mean, that's pretty bad. I felt like there was an elephant sitting on my chest.
Mhm.
And when I called him over, not only was I going through this, but the lady next to the booth with the compression boots was like, come to my booth after. And that really inspired me to write a safety thing on biohacking conferences, because if you're going from one booth to the other, you're taking methylene blue and all of these different stimulants to create productivity, focus, attention. You go from one thing to the other. I've
Yeah.
seen people outside of, exhibit halls like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with me? And, I've supported people, and this is not, nobody wants to talk about the other side of the coin, which is do no harm first.
Mhm.
And, there's a balance of everything. So that's my purpose.
Wow. I mean, what? I mean, got such an incredible story, and some of the things that I kind of took notes on here was the whole like you were skipping around when you were a little child.
Mm-hmm.
I had the
Mm-hmm.
same thing in Sweden. I was skipping around, and actually, Sweden is very socialist, and the neighbor and like ingrained in Swedes is kind of to be jealous. So
Mm-hmm.
my mother's neighbor would say to my mother when I was like 12 and like skipping around, she'd be like, I think something is wrong with Alexandra. She's a little bit too happy. So
Mm.
you better check her. So, I kind of resonate with that a little bit, but I think with that comes this very strong mindset that what you have been going through, I think like a lot of people wouldn't be where you are today because you've got a very, very strong positive mindset, which
Mm.
really helped you, right?
And you know, the Biohack Yourself documentary that I was on, Anthony Lawley, which is the producer, he said something to me which was so beautiful because it's kind of like how you feel and how I feel. And I think Jim Carrey said it, like comedians are the highest rate of suicide because we might be happy on the outside going through something internal on the inside. So we're kind of having this battle with our temple, our human body, to create that happiness. You know,
Mm.
my mom had a lot of pain and said, you know, smile, fake it till you make it, until you feel happy. And there is, like, you know, she would do laughter yoga to pull it out of pain, you know, pull some type of frequency out of the pain situations. At the same time, you want to address certain issues, you know, but when I was in the documentary, I told Sean Wells before I went in, I was kind of feeling like, I don't want to say nervous, but you know, it's a documentary. I've never been
Yeah.
on one. And he asked, Sean Wells is another practitioner that is going to be on that documentary, and he asked me how if I could put it in one word, and I actually said I felt alone, which was kind of sad if you think about it. And I felt alone a lot in my life, and just going through all of the pain. But when after I did the interview, and you know, it was about an hour with the Lollies and their beautiful family. At the end, he said what you guys said. He's like, you know, no one would ever know you've been through all of this with the joy that you show, that you put on the outside. And he said, you're an anomaly. So I think that's such a beautiful way for us to survive in life, is to, because words are so powerful.
Mm.
And ever since that moment, anytime I feel alone, I have switched that word. And I think that a lot of times we see people happy on the outside. And I always say, don't judge a book by the cover. Like, people could see my teeth and my hair and the queen of biohacking. I've had to replace every single tooth in my mouth because I was intubated and they deteriorated. You know, there's a lot of pain behind what people don't know. And
Yeah.
that's why when I'm in yoga class, I teach yoga. I just opened a studio, and there's, you want to have openness. And I don't have mirrors in my yoga studio because I don't want people to compare. But sometimes you might have one girl in yoga who's doing absolutely amazing, and she's not showing off. She just has a dedicated practice. And then the whole entire room could be like, oh, that fucking bitch. Yeah, I mean, you can feel energy sometimes, right? I'm a
Right.
teacher, so I can feel it both ways. I can feel insecurities, I can feel egos and jealousies. And some things I've started to cue in classes, if one person is doing a pose that looks like it could be on an Instagram page, you know, because that's not what we're here for. But if somebody is looking like a freaking model here in a pose that they have mastered, you don't know how long they've sat in that pose to
Right.
Right.
survive, you
Correct.
know?
I
And
think,
go
sorry, go.
ahead. No,
No,
that's
I
just deep, you know, and
yeah.
people stop that. I could tell the energy in the room, and you could hear half of the women just start chuckling because I'm like, don't try to throw a block at her, send her love. And I
Yeah.
didn't say this person, that person, but you could feel the energy. You could see one or two mastering their practice, and the others just keep looking over, and don't compare yourself. You don't know what they've been through. But go ahead.
And Lauren, I mean, you are so spot on. And I think, I mean, a lot of us work on that. Like, that's one of the things I work very hard on, because I can be very quick to look at someone and I'm like, oh, you are so annoying, or I judge you. I never judge someone out of like,
Mm.
I'm never jealous of anyone. So meaning, like, if I see a beautiful woman or someone doing something amazing, I'm actually the opposite of that. But some people can annoy me, and then I'm quick to kind of judge, and I'm working on that because that's,
We are human. We
yeah,
are
we're
so
human.
human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think
And
Yes.
like, go
yeah,
ahead.
sometimes it's good to ask yourself too, like when you're making a judgment like that, like where is that actually coming from? So
Yes.
sometimes I'll ask
Yeah.
myself, I'll be like, oh, I don't like that shirt that someone's wearing or something. And I'm like, why am I having that experience? Like, what is that? Where is that
Right.
coming What?
Yeah.
Often it's coming
Because,
from
like,
ourselves.
Yeah, or is it because, my mom used to wear that color and I don't like that, or it's like where's
oh, I have like one
deeper?
of the last judgments I did, and I'm very non-judgmental, so you might even laugh at the judgment. But I walked in, I was at a conference, and Bryant Wood, he's from Modern Nirvana, he was doing a breath work, and I never met him before. I never heard of him before. And he looked like he was half my age. So right when I walked in, I thought, how could he enlighten me one bit, this little young kid? You know what I mean? But I didn't know that my subconscious said that. And he's not that much younger than me either. So I just must felt old that day. But and I had one of the most transformational experiences, Alex. That's how I have these tattoos on my feet from that moment. And
Wow.
it also transformed me because I realized if I would have walked out and allowed my human judgment to, because I was like, oh, maybe there's a better breakout session,
Yeah.
like at a conference. Because
Yeah.
the second I saw him sitting up there, I'm like, what the fuck? Let me get out of here. This young
Yeah.
kid, what does he know?
Yeah.
And then, and then the projections of how I feel maybe when my patients walk in and they're twice as old as me, or I have doctors that refer patients that are older than me. And this was all my own projection of like what they might be thinking of me because of my age or,
Correct.
whatever.
Mm.
So it was so beautiful to lose that judgment because those are the most transformational moments. And I always tell people it's okay to be like, I have a book I'm writing. I used to be a bitch. I hope you like that name.
Yeah.
Did you used to
Right?
be bitch, Lauren?
And I never did. My mom always said, you never were a bitch. You never were a bitch. But again, it's not about specifically me being a bitch, but in life, we might be fucking bitchy, right? Like we might go through things, whether we're a teenager in our 20s, however old we are, and we need to forgive ourselves. And that's the whole point because we forgive everybody else. We want forgiveness from everybody else, but we tend to throw the most dirt on our own life because we hold the weight of however we may have been a year ago, a month ago, last week. And as long as we can adjust, correct, become better. I created space in a ceremony the other day and I wished that I stayed longer because people needed me longer and I planned around my children also needing me at bedtime, right? So in that moment, even though that's so small, I told myself, I will never plan this during my kids' bedtime because I want to hold more space for my client. So as long as you learn from any parts, like I think I've said to, I wrote a brain tap for Dr. Porter called Mastering the Mistakes because we are, no matter who you are in life and where you go, you will still make a mistake here or there. You might offend someone here or there, but if your intention is overall good, it's like you're going to get over it and you should forgive yourself as well as be in a community that is forgiving.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the key. I mean, for sure, forgiveness is the key, right?
Mhm.
But Lauren, I mean, first of all, where did you grow up? What is your kind of background, and how old are your kids?
Perfect. Well, I love to answer this because, the Florida man, I'm the Florida girl. I was born and raised in Florida. That's probably why I'm barefoot. And I definitely used to pick up lizards, put them on my ears for earrings, and all the stuff that you might see on Facebook is true. Us Floridians are definitely barefoot like that, little hillbillies. But
That's great.
I grew up in Davie, Florida, South Florida, and it wasn't like Miami, but it's down south by Fort Lauderdale. And I moved around a lot. My parents were divorced, and I probably lived all over Sunrise, Davie, Hollywood. That was kind of hard, and again, part of the stuff I absorbed over the years. I graduated South Plantation High School and down there in Plantation, and I got a scholarship to USF in Tampa. And I didn't even know USF was in Tampa, but they gave me a full scholarship, the Jenkins Scholarship from Publix, and I had a scholarship anywhere in Florida and a couple of universities. I even had acceptance to Emory, but USF was amazing, and they even gave me like $50,000 on top of everything else, paid for my room and board, and
Wow.
they're really transforming the school. So It's like I was like, no brainer. Let me move to Tampa. I'm still in Florida. And then I got pregnant with my husband, and it was meant to be. We've been married 17 years.
Wow.
And my son, I have a going on 17-year-old. He was just rear-ended the other day on the road. So,
Oh,
having a 16-year-old driving is pretty intense.
no.
I
Terrifying.
say the most patient drivers on the roads are mothers of 16-year-olds, because even if someone is a jerk, you're like, I pray for you, slow down. I hope you're not a child. Like, I love you. The most tolerant. And then my other child is in second grade, wanting me to pick him up after our podcast, because he's like, I don't like Fun Friday. I'm like, you're going to like Fun Friday. It's his first Fun Friday of second grade. And he's such a lover and a beautiful person.
What's
Yeah,
Fun
both of them.
Friday? What does that mean?
He's in second grade, and at his school, they have a Fun Friday. So it's very sensory oriented. They do different things, bubbles, foam. They could, play with different things. I love his school that he goes to. Even getting into biohacking, should I get controversial? Because being who I am, and I'll say this out loud, I don't even care. This is why you have me, right? This is why people are scared to talk to me also. So let's go.
They're not
Bring
scared.
it out.
Right. No,
I mean,
yeah, it is a projection, but also I've had a couple reports back, like a little intimidating, but no.
Get it out.
No, good to know, right? No, but we have a marketing, like schools have marketing and everything, if people do fundraisers. And I've been a part of, let's just make it subjective. I won't pinpoint my son's school. Let's just say any school, right?
Mhm.
There's sponsorship opportunities. And I love to support the kids. And for me to go from super, super struggling to like have enough money to be able to sponsor, my son's program was like such a gift, and I tried to. In some places you can try to sponsor, and they actually don't want your sponsorship, and you don't know what it's like. You could go into legal reasons, but life's too short. I mean, and my response to getting up after you're knocked down is, hey, I've gotten over all of this. How can one other thing affect me? But when you're in biohacking, when you're the first person who had your marijuana card, often you are excluded from certain groups, circles, sponsorships, opportunities. Advent Health, different doctors who are mainstream, they don't like the narrative sometimes. So sometimes it's harder for people like us to survive in this mainstream medical arena, however, or like even marketing arena, which is why it's beautiful to have the biohacking blondes, bring out and more of the names, the queen of biohacking, the godfather of biohacking, because I even had a news paper close to me be like, what is biohacking? We have this, and they thought they were going to do harm to my business, but actually it was like my mother said when she was alive, any attention is good attention, even if it's bad sometimes. Because she would always be like in the tabloids. We called her gangster granny. She's like, oh my God, look at Kanye. What? Like, I'm like, Mom, I don't want to hear it. But, so when I had my info out there in this newspaper, and they're like, she's got hyperbarics and this and that, and it's physical therapy. And what is she doing combining this, that, and the other? My phone was blowing up when they did a full page article on what the hell am I doing in my office. So I think the general population are waking up. They want something different, but so it's just good to keep pushing what we're pushing. And so I'm born and raised in Florida, 16 and 7, going on 8 and 17 next month. And those are my babies.
It's amazing. So you've got your center in Tampa, and we would love to hear, what are you offering your patients? You're merging ancient divine wisdom with modern medicine. And tell us a little bit about your amazing approaches and practices that you're using at the Exerscience Center that you founded.
So I think a patient-centered focus is really important to apply anything. So when I'm assessing somebody, and because of the expansive knowledge I have with yoga, sound healing, dry needling, body work, physical therapy, using modalities like electrical stimulation and different techniques like gait training, whatever it might be, each patient is different, which is why when I was graduating, they said you should pick a population, whether it's athletes or neighbor, like, geriatric or kids, pick a population, which is very common in the medical world, a specialty. But as myself being a athlete in my ego space, I'm an ice skater, and I also know a lot of athletes. I want to treat athletes, but I also want to treat my neighbor. I also want to treat the cashier from Publix. I want to treat someone who's one because I can. I want to treat someone who's 104 as my oldest patient. So I don't want to limit the access, which is why I was saying earlier, I go to those different conferences like Spastic Paraplegia Foundation or Parkinson's or whatever, because everybody deserves this type of treatment. And how I can deliver that to such a wide variety of people is being present. And that's the spirituality of presence, because you hear what's going on, and then you can go down so many different pathways if you have that openness. And I was sharing with someone the other day who came in for tinnitus, ears ringing. And, so how can I heal ears ringing? So I have a lot of different methods. We can do this direct current behind the ears to relax some of the tissues. You can do dry needling. I could get into the specifics of what I could do. But I was telling the mother that also in my clinic, people know that it's a different place. They're in a place of unknowing, like no expectation, because it's so different than most. I truly love what I do and humans. So this is the frequency of healing and love. And then really magic happens. So you have to hear your patient out. And then really you have to also have the knowledge to apply all these different modalities. And that's one of the hardest things for me to multiply my business, because I've opened a second location, and I travel from both. And the other location is in Regenix. It's a regenerative medicine clinic by USF. Ooh, and cool. I want to hire another doctor of physical therapy. I built a business and founded it on my back. So when people know the queen of biohacking's there, they want someone who knows everything, right? And that's what's been I would say, like the weak link of multiplying my business, because I can't multiply myself. But I started an internship because of that. And I try to teach people as much as possible. But even more so is to connect, make a network, and refer out. When people think they know everything, that's when someone can get really hurt. And I think people are scared to lose clients. People are scared to lose, like when you look at a client like they're a piece of money and you're going to lose $1, I think practitioners need to shift out of the energy of what are they really doing? What's the purpose? So, that's what I've seen really hurt the industry, no matter if it's mainstream medical or even holistic. I've been at events where I charge $200 for a bioscan and someone else is charging $4,000. And I'm like, what the fudge? Like, that's not even ethical, but I'm not going to go there right now. Because we want to create access for everybody.
It's hard. So hard it's so hard working in health too, because like I experience this too, so I'm a functional nutrition practitioner, and I feel like I just want to help everybody. Like that's like my main goal. And I don't often think about money, but then you also have to think about money because you have to make money. But it's like a lot of healers aren't inclined to like do that. But then you have the other side of the coin where you have people running entire businesses who all they want is money in their health space.
Yeah. So there's balance. And I would have to say one of my clients was a financial analyst for a news station. I'm not going to say where or what, but he gave me a book and it said Money Secrets from the Bible. And, it's funny because I'm Jewish and I'm like, you're giving me a Bible. I'm going to read this. And and it's about money. We could go down different pathways of stereotypes. I'm like, is this a joke? What are we doing? And, but it was beautiful because he heard my struggles and when my mom died and I had different things go on with opening my business and how we think it's going to be easy, and really it's not. And there's could be lawsuits involved. And my store was robbed, right when I opened. All of my products were stolen, and it was just like a hard process. Um, opening the business. I just got lost on a tangent. Where were we going here? Oh
Well,
my God.
Money,
I went
maybe,
and grabbed the
money
coffee.
well,
secrets
maybe,
from the Bible,
Oh
and
yeah,
like,
money secrets. So
yeah,
I was really attached to the pain of money, like the struggle, because I came up with free lunch in school, Medicaid. I went to health departments again. That's why my health deteriorated.
yeah,
So he told me you need to think of money as abundance of feeding your children the organic food you want, having access to good health care, being able to be charitable. So when you're shifting into the mindset, because he's like, you're an energy person, you just have to shift it into this arena of life as well. And I swear, when I did that, so many beautiful things changed, because I always thought money is the root of all evil. Money's greed. And then I switched because money is so abundant. Because, like, at my clinic, and how providers could pass, you don't want to give all of your stuff out for free. You want to have value, right?
mhm,
But we open pay anything you can Friday. So in my clinic, an average membership is about $800, you know, every billing cycle. And it goes up from there. And that's not cheap, So most people can't just, oh, I'm going to add on an $800 bill to my monthly budget. However, we have different options. We have one that's a $200 option where they can come in for different modified services or support. And then we have a pay anything you can Friday. So on
mm,
Fridays, we have people who donate a minimum of $20. And then we can even waive that donation, and we just tell them to pay it forward in the community or volunteering. But there's ways to give back and to make things accessible. I mean, I had to put a lot of waivers on my advertisement because my people love me, and they're like, you don't want the whole community lining up at your business, you can't serve them all, and then your charitability is going to tear you down because you can't get to all of them. But
absolutely.
with the students, I have them split the donation. Whatever people donate, I give half to the student that's treating them and half to the center for electricity and whatever we're using as our cost.
mhm.
And it's just a really good energy in the community. And if you're always thinking about the return, for example, you could sit here and think of all of these advertising costs, but once you are being a charitable person, maybe people will advertise you for free. And the way your path shifts in life is totally different when it's not even thought upon a dollar, if that makes sense. And that's how I live. That's how I treat
No,
my business. And it's grown so beautiful and has been so, community driven.
Yeah,
Lauren, I mean, I love what you're saying, and there's so many different things to that. So, like, for example, the first thing that you said, sometimes when you give things out for free, okay, people do not see the value in it, or
No,
they don't really appreciate it, okay? So that's one
correct.
thing, right? But the other thing is, like, for example, I'm involved with the stem cell clinic in
Hmm.
in the Bahamas now, okay? Well, the stem
Awesome.
cell treatments are like, I mean, minimum $30,000, and they go up from there, okay?
Hmm. Yes.
So, they are mega helpful for so many people. And I want to be able to one day, make sure that more people have access to this type of, treatments that are so, so beneficial and helpful. So, like, I'm always struggling with it. And the other thing is, I'm married to a venture capital guy and a finance guy. So you can only imagine, like, you know,
Yeah.
he is thinking, and, like, we're talking numbers, we're talking, it's kind of the opposite,
Yeah.
the spiritual, give, so I battle with that hugely, I have to say.
yeah. I
No,
have.
I hear you. I
It's
hear you.
it's a tough one, especially for health people in the health world who just want to help people. But I follow this. There's this woman named Adele Tevlin who's a Canadian, and she has this sort of like high-end coaching program, and she talks about all the like laws of the universe. And there's this like law of circulation, which is exactly what Lauren was describing, where you like it's a giving and receiving. And if you're charitable and you give not just money, but giving of yourself or your energy,
Yeah.
things always come back to you. And it's this
Yes.
like, yeah, it's just really kind of this
Yeah.
magical.
And then people, yeah, you have to do it from a place of, again, not like, because I've had people, it's going to come back to me ×3 any dollar I spend. And it's like, well, no,
No,
don't write that down on paper. You know, it
no,
doesn't
that's
get
the
that
wrong energy.
subjective.
Yeah, it's not the right
Yeah,
feeling.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, like
And for me, like, because your husband, I actually, people don't know this about me, but I also have a bachelor in physics and I love math. And I had a really big scholarship. So I graduated high school with so many credits, and having a big scholarship, I actually could have graduated really early. People used to joke like Doogie Howser, but if I stayed in school and got another bachelor, I could keep getting money, if that makes sense. You know, I'm literally having free room, free board every semester. I'm getting a check for like $9,000.
oh,
So I'm like, how can I extend this amazing? I would buy my friends like bookstore. I had a $500 credit in the bookstore. It was the most amazing scholarship ever in the world. It was so beautiful. So
oh
I'm
my
like, let me get another bachelor degree. And I got a bachelor in biomedical physics because I love math and I used to want to do engineering. And when you know math so well, it's like I can calculate, looking around my office, the cost per square foot. Each employee, I joke that I have a meter by their head, how much they cost me or make me. And it can get overwhelming when you do know math and analyze analytics so much. So I get it with your husband, because to take a step back from that mindset is very, very hard when you're very calculative, you know.
uh,
So
yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
it's just a beautiful thing.
and Lauren,
It's a balance.
what's crazy when you're saying all this, it's like we don't have the video on today, but Lauren Leiva is like this kind of sexy goddess. So like you look at her and you're like, uh-huh, she's just like, she's got long hair, like big boobs. I mean, like so
I love
you don't,
you.
I
You
mean,
can say whatever you want. She's got that
no, but
cute
it's like
ass. Keep
no,
going.
but it's like the
Okay.
typical stereotype. It's like, and you have all these degrees. So like
Mhm.
DPT, CPT, FNS, RYT, GTS, and DN. That's all in your name, okay? I mean, that's like
Yeah.
ridiculous. Have you lived
I
like
actually have like way more, but I stopped. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And even on my business card, I only put TPT because, and even when people walk in, I always say, like, especially working with veterans and children and going through what I went through, people have white coat hypertension. It's something that
Yeah,
exists. And when you
yeah,
go in a place and there's white coats and there's clipboards, it's like people's blood pressure literally can go
yes.
up because
Oh
of
yeah.
all of this rigidity, and not rigidity, it's just like official stuff going on. And look at all this knowledge and paper. And yesterday, again, I'm not going to say in my son's school, I was at parent teacher night, and there's a pre-calculus teacher, and they were talking about putting a video on. The kids take notes and they ask questions the next day. And I'm like, wait, let's reiterate this. Like, people pay however many thousands of dollars, and it's like they're doing online school in school, right?
Oh,
Like, I'm like, let me just like recap this, because some of the parents have an issue with it, some of them don't. And
right, right.
my son hasn't mentioned anything, so I'm blessed. He's always been really, really good and all of that stuff. But it's not just about my son, and it's about learning. And I love textbooks and that tactile feel.
Yes.
But the lady said, the teacher, the beautiful teacher, said, well, the person teaching is a doctor, right? And then it's like, ooh, everybody in the room, well, okay, fine then,
Oh God.
check mark, let's move on.
Right.
My mother was killed by doctors, so
Right.
I also don't just value someone because they have a million degrees on the wall, being someone with a million degrees on the wall, because I've been around that community to know that you could be hyperinflated through this education. And
Yeah.
sometimes people that only learn have never done, have never experienced. So
Yeah.
I teach all of my students, it doesn't matter how many papers are on my wall, you could either know just as much as me or more than me. It's all about being open and not having that ego. And again, that's me being part of the medical world for so long, is that I actually was like, I don't want to go to doctors. And that's something I'm writing about why my center's called Exerscience or Zen Powerhouse, because I didn't even want to call it a physical therapy clinic, because people are used to an insurance model. And then people pay more money for personal training than they would ever value physical therapy because they think it should be an insurance model based and included with their bullshit insurance that really doesn't cover anything that works. And then,
Nope.
the practitioner's limited. So like when you work on an insurance model and people say, well, why did I go fuck off in the corner for 15 minutes? It's like, well, they really only need to touch you for 8 minutes to bill an hour of different services. And when you're in a place where you're accepting insurance, whoever's running it is most often looking at numbers all day. How are these numbers going to adjust and change and create more money? And it's usually less time per patient and manual therapy, which is what they need. So,
Yep.
this is all how my practice has been built around, because we don't take insurance. It's hourly, and we stack the biohack. So all of my patients think I'm crazy each time I come from a conference with a new machine, because I'm not charging them more. I mean, as years go on, inflation, I might boost the membership. I remember when I opened in 2015, it was $600 a month. Now it's $800. So like that's almost 10 years, and it's only gone up $200. That's pretty
That's
awesome.
nothing. Yeah, look at the
It's
food in the
nothing,
grocery store.
right?
It's like,
Y'all better
triple.
watch out,
Yeah,
2025. No, I'm kidding.
exactly.
But anyway,
Nor-
you know,
yeah, I mean,
uh,
what biohacks do you have in there? Can you talk us through some of the
yeah,
machines
perfect.
and
So
which
yeah,
one was?
so we stack the biohacks, and the more you have, the more you can be patient centered. One of my first machines was the New Fit machine. It was the newbie from New Fit. I was hospitalized in 9 months. I lost the feeling of my left arm, my left breast, my left shoulder blade. I still can't feel it, but I would throw out my arm. I would have tears. It would deteriorate it. So the newbie device is just amazing for regenerating your nerves, and you get collateral blood flow. It's just amazing. And it goes through 500 different hertz. Like you can manipulate it per hertz, so 1 to 500, to target different tissues, with the different frequency. And I work with people with MS, CP. So if you think of people who have this contracted body, or after stroke, how you could lean to one side, instead of using Botox and being flaccid, you can use electrical stimulation and send signals through to create an eccentric contraction, which is a release, not a shortening of the muscle tissue. And then people can use their body as intended and not have Botox all over them. So that's a beautiful machine. And before I even had a clinic, I traveled to, country clubs and libraries and everything. So I would treat people with MS, CP, and my mom was post-stroke. So I treated her as well. Once I got my next device was the brain tap. So brain tap completely changed my life after, especially my mother was killed, because if it wasn't for my children, I pretty much would not have wanted to be in this body. And it was very hard, and I really only lived for my family, which is still not healthy. You want to live for yourself as well. So the brain tap helped recenter me, and also see such a bigger picture of my purpose in this world. Where was I going with that? So,
Well,
get me back on track.
I'm excited that you had a brain tap recording that you did. So did you write yourself and like?
Yes, I just wrote 28 kids books for brain tap, and Dr. Porter's granddaughter is going to be speaking them. She's the youngest practitioner on brain tap.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and they're so meaningful to me. I mean, there's so many things that are produced by AI. We talked about AI earlier, and it's almost like when I'm hearing stories or even seeing Instagram posts, you can see now when people kind of use AI and the tapestry and the wovenness and all of this, the way things are written. So I really want to take pride in that I actually wrote these stories, and then they come from pain, from children's point of view. So there's Queen Bella the bee, and that is really about me, that one. And I can't wait for it to come out, because I'm the bee who is a queen. And I kind of like always tried to steer away from the hive. I got in trouble, but I didn't know I was a queen until my mother died. Because so like it helps maybe a daughter go through the death of her mother, and then I have one as like a marvel mind, and a kid that could hear every single, signal in the world. But that's more for children who might have ADD or ADHD. And so I went down different pathways for all of the children I've met, or the children inside of me that I know that are there. So I'm really excited for that. And it's a blessing to give back to the Brain Tap, because I know that Dr. Porter has a lot of people that love him. And I joke that they go to bed to his voice every single night. So they probably get obsessed with him, but he truly has a beautiful place in my heart and in my life, because, I am stronger every day because of this invention. And I give back through the meditations. And with health the way I've had, we don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow, but my
Correct.
voice will be for my children. And that's just an honor to give to the world.
Oh,
Yeah.
how beautiful. And we love him. We love Patrick.
Yeah. So then I started stacking the biohacks. So I added Brain Tap with the newbie, because you could do a master reset. And that's kind of what I was doing in the room at the event with the event that we were at with Casey West Foundation. So in that room, you would do a master reset, which is like equivalent to 4 hours of deep sleep. You put 2 pads on the neck, the feet, and then with the Brain Tap, it's like you're into another world. I have a message from a girl who experienced that stack that I just told you. And do you mind if I read what she told me in the morning?
Please.
Because it was the most beautiful thing. I'm scrolling down because, all right, ready for it? And this was the 2 stacks. And this isn't a conference, so it's loud. It's not like she had a full hour appointment. She was with me for 20, 30 minutes. Just wanted to follow up with you on my experience with the headset. Normally I wake up sore, achy, migraine, and anxious. This morning I woke up able to feel my feet, which I normally can't really feel them when I naturally rub them together. I noticed my circulation got better, and I believe the Brain Tap helped with something that I don't know. It's significant enough for me to feel some degree better. So I wanted to share that with you. I could not put into words my experience of yesterday to my husband. He has been my rock the last 10 years of my healing journey. He has seen me fight relentlessly just to survive and advocate for myself and go against the grain of the matrix medical system. I have tried every medicine, every method, and continue to expand and grow in knowledge. This is my passion, to hope to bring people together when they feel like their story is over. Thank you so much. And that's why we do what we do. That's why I travel to the conferences for, when I see people walk again, talk again, or sit up in their hospital bed when they haven't been able to sit up in 6 years. And you don't even know that's going to happen. What if you're a doctor and you've been through that, and you walk in and someone sits up to greet you and they haven't done that ever, and it's just these are the moments that keep you going no matter what happens. No matter if people want your sponsorship, no matter if people say you're a bitch or you're like this twerking goddess hoe, who cares? You changed the world. I can take on anything. Anybody can say anything I want. I love myself and I love what I do.
Yeah, and you love helping people, and that's that's the bottom line. You are a good person. So you got
that's 2. But then so now we have the anti-aging triple crown massage chair. We have a hyperbaric oxygen tank. We have a salt cave. We have the infrared sauna. We have an ice plunge. We have paraffin wax that I create with CBD over 50,000 milligrams, which transfuses through the body. So we have our own little chemistry area. We have fat lasers. We have Tesla, wands. We have pulse electromagnetic frequency. We have the anti-aging med bed. I could go on and on. I just got in the lights from Dave Asprey, the true lights all around the clinic. So we mimic the sunrise and sunset. We have the anti-aging grounding covers on all of our clinic tables, so everybody's grounded. We have Brain Taps everywhere. We have the bioscanner, which is bioresonance, and you can scan the body, detect all of these things, and then send corrections through. Alex heard my talk at the Casey West thing, which was decoding the system. So sometimes you can't even say what things do because they're not approved yet, or, there's not enough data out there. But there's really never enough data out there unless there's policymakers and millions of dollars behind it. Correct. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. We'll go on for another couple of hours with that one.
Right. So again, I always say it's the Cheesecake Factory of healing. I've had to tie my hands behind my back when I go to conferences. I told myself, no more devices. Because just like your phone advances, I try to really hold back, and I'm really glad I have an office manager now who's gonna filter through all of the offerings, because ever since the Queen of Biohacking emerged, I get a lot of stuff sent to me, and I want to support everybody. I want to sign up for everything. But I also don't want to lose value in my word and what I represent. And I only talk about what works. And even if something works and it starts not to work, or there's something better, people should know I am not owned by anybody. I will shift. I will make a new report, you know? So I have one of my students describe me as like gold standard and only expect excellence. And I used to think that sounded kind of crazy and rigid. And at being a woman, and all of us are women here, you know, the more successful we might get, the more rigid people might think we are, you know. I won't say the CUNT word, but you know, people have a lot of things to say. And it's like, no, I'm a businesswoman. I know what I want. I know where I'm going. And it's just the confidence that comes along the way.
Yeah.
That's
And I
amazing.
mean, the foundation of it too is the beautiful foundation that you legitimately want to help people. That's it. You want to
Yeah,
spread the word of what you're doing, what we are doing as biohackers, and you
100%.
you want everyone to know about it, because everyone should know about it. And it should be
Yeah.
on every first page of every newspaper in the world, but is not. And again, that's a whole different conversation, and it just like revs me up. But it's like, you know,
Yeah. Like people don't get paid. People, okay. A lot of times people want to know, when you speak at conferences, why do you speak everywhere? Speakers often pay, like most speakers, the world wants to know. Speakers get on stage often because they have a product and they're paying for space at a conference, right? They might pay 5,000, 10,000, 50,000. Okay. I want the world to know I've never paid for any spots anywhere. I've worked really hard to get the speaking spots that I've had. And even more so, I've been offered sponsorship. And I have taken sponsorship for events, for grand openings, for things like that. I'll take sponsorships for travel, you know, to help support my journey. So not only staying true to my word, because I won't just accept, oh, like I had a red light hair growth helmet, want to sponsor me just so I could start writing them. And I'm like writing about them. And it's like, no, this helmet gave me, my eyes were weird, my neck hurt, it was too heavy. I wasn't going to allow them to sponsor me. And I don't care if they're going to buy me a plane ticket or do all of these things. So when you do things the right way, you start to create a name for yourself. And that's very important to me, you know, because I value what I do. And I'm also, just like you said, people look at me, I twerk, I do twerk shops, I do women's ceremonies, but I'm also super intelligent. And I have, like I said, a physics degree, a biomedical science degree, both bachelors from universities, a doctorate, and more. And I've been in places and they're saying, oh, well, you know, you're an influencer. And then this is where the scientists or researchers go. And I love to tell them, I don't think you know who the fuck I am. And I love to say it just like that, because they're shocked. And then I'm like, look at what I know. And then when I'm at conferences, not only is it beautiful and I'm emerging, because I've always been surrounded by men. I've often been surrounded by different cultures because, you know, an American Floridian girl who's barefoot, you know, I used to grow up doing like, you know, brain bowls, like math competitions, and you know, those Rubik's cubes at the podium. You know, I stuttered, but I could do math like a master. I love organic chemistry. And when you're in this community, a lot of times people say, oh, well, you know, you're beautiful, like, but what do you know? And there's so much I know, and I'm really excited to actually be 40. It sounds funny to say that, and I'm giving myself a hug for it, because as I get older, people do respect me more. And it's really exciting to be able to share my mind with people, because you can see when people look at the outside and they are not going through it another layer or two. But spirituality and confidence, I won't push my energy in that direction. So I'll send you guys a funny video when we get off. I was in a conversation and I literally 180'd and walked away. And it's like not my energy. If I'm not being heard or respected, it's okay. I don't mind, but I'm not going to keep over there. You know, there's a song. It says, I only want what wants me. And I think when you stop trying to shift yourself in the communities that are so resistant, if you just maintain who you are and keep shining your light, it's going to eventually travel over to that community.
Yep.
And it's kind of what I had to give myself a mantra, because some communities, whether because I'm barefoot or whatever it might be, they might not want me in the beginning, but there's so many other communities that need me and want me, and eventually they'll see. So
Right.
Oh,
it's
All they have
just,
to do is listen to this podcast and they'll be like, oh my goodness, this woman is incredible. Right.
I love you guys. My mom had a very painful life, and she went through a lot of abuse, and she used to, and I understand more now that she's gone, because I read her stuff that she never would have told me out loud. And, my mother had sexual abuse from her own father, and that's something that's going to be in a book. And that's really, I never knew that. And I never knew my grandfather on her side. And I used to always be angry with my mother, because she would always disconnect from our present selves to like take us out of pain. Like, let's look at the clouds. Look at that beautiful color of blue. Look at that car passing by. And as a child going through different abusive situations, I'm screaming like I'm standing in a pile of fire. Like, what the fuck? Why don't you help me?
Cloud, yeah. Right.
Like, I don't want to look at the cloud. I'm here dealing with an angry person or abuse or pain. And she's like, oh, at least we can see. At least you're beautiful. And it was just her way of surviving. And I understand more. And that's where, when you look good on the outside and things are going on the inside, because I know that our podcast can be forever, but it goes a lot deeper. I said I have a saying: when someone's depressed but they're beautiful, and they go to the doctor and they say, hey doc, I'm depressed, and the doc says, oh, you look so beautiful today. And then they say, oh no, like I didn't sleep, I'm really depressed, I had thoughts of suicide. Oh my god, you are so beautiful, I saw you the other day, your outfit was amazing. And then the person ends up killing themselves, and it's just people aren't listening. And a lot of times they only see the outside. And I thought there's so many, and you guys have had it where someone's like, hey, tell me about the biohacking blondes, and you'll start and they'll be like, we're going to work together, we're going to collaborate. They don't give a F about anything you're doing. They just want to get involved and elevate. It happens on every realm, business, friendship. So you got to be here.
Well, Lauren, it's incredible, the story of your mom and how close you were to your mom, because okay, so I'm almost crying here, because I have a very similar story, and it's going to be in the book, and the chapter that I'm writing in your book. And it's actually my mother. She was sexually abused by her father from she was 3 years old. So
wow, look what we have in common, sister.
Yeah, that's what we have in common. Absolutely. And she had such a darkness, and then it continued. And I'm not going to obviously rabble on. This is not my like, it's not talking about me here, but it's very similar. She had such a darkness, and she turned that around and she became the lightness. But my mom looked like Marilyn Monroe. So she had huge boobs, and she was absolutely stunning, and she was always judged. Okay, always judged. And she was very similar to you, Lauren, in a way. She was very charismatic and bubbly in Sweden, which you're not allowed to do.
So hey, I know you, and that's all the Sweden I know, and I fucking love it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, and that's not Sweden. That's why I left. And this is what's so crazy, Lauren, is because you haven't read my chapter yet. I haven't submitted it yet. But it's done. But it's about this, and it's like, I
can't wait. I'm gonna get on the lawyer to get you that contract, and then we can also do a little blip.
No idea. Oh my god, that's the connection. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so, look at that.
Yeah. So just quick, you saying that your mom, she was killed from malpractice. What was it? I don't know if you even want to.
No problem. I can tell you. So in 2019, and spiritually, I've had to retell the story to myself to just be able to breathe and live. I felt the universe. I had to switch the story. The universe took her out before COVID, because she's such a rebel, and she would not have been able to be down with that pandemic lockdown. Yep. So she would have been on like the rooftops drinking alcohol with a shotgun in the sky. She would have been crazy. Who knows? But in 2019, after surviving lung cancer, stroke, she had double hip replacement, knee, shoulder, carpal tunnel release, because she had great insurance, and they just kept going in on her. And I told her, it's your spine. you know, and it was just terrible, all the stuff they would do to her. But unfortunately, I always say, even the best healthcare person, usually your family that's immediate around you doesn't listen to you. It's just the way it works.
Oh,
so, you know, the dentist wife needs a root canal. So
yeah.
it's my analogy. But, you know, I'm like, Mom, please listen to me. Please listen to me. Towards the end, she did start to listen. And this is why it drives me crazy, because I brought her to the hospital. And this is why I said in my thing, no matter how much you advocate, no matter how much you do, something can happen. And that's why medical errors and doing no harm should be the biggest priority over helping someone, is preventing injury and hurting them. And that, again, is prevalent in different spaces, and it's scary, especially biohacking, because you can have clinics now that don't need a doctor run by it. And you might have someone who doesn't have the clinical reasoning to say you have a pacemaker, sickle cell anemia, or seizure history, or whatever it might be. I mean, these things are very important. But my mom was overdosed on blood thinner, and she almost didn't even need to go to the hospital that day, which killed me, because she just wasn't breathing that well. She survived lung cancer. She had part of her lung removed. She was a freaking warrior. And she just was, it was a day where she was, you know, COPD was in full effect. So I said, let's go to the hospital. Let's just get you monitored, you know, because so we went, you know, and they weighed the patient on the wheelchair on intake. It was weighed in pounds, but the girl, when she put it in the computer, her units were set to kilograms.
Oh.
And they overdosed my mom on blood thinner overnight. And so she was intubated the next day. My mother, complete organ failure, everything shut down because she was overdosed on, you know, I don't know if it's warfarin or what it was. My mom was also DNR, do not resuscitate. So of course they resuscitated her. I was there. It was like a young nurse, and she's like she was freaking out more than me. It was like a horror story. So then they resuscitate her, and because I'm her medical proxy, I'm the one who's in charge of unfucking resuscitating her and pulling all this stuff. And as her youngest daughter, that was so hard for me to go through. But I heard her voice like, bitch, if you have to spoon feed me and wipe my ass, I'm gonna kick your ass. You know, I don't want this shit in my body. And like everything that she's been through, she clearly told me how she wants to die, which was beautiful. Like, she wanted a shirt from Walmart that had sequins on it. You know, that emoji where it goes from a smiley face to a other funny face, like those weird things. My mom was a joker. On her grave, it says "left him laughing." I mean, she gave me that joy up until the day she died. It's on her grave, "Left him laughing." Marlene on the moon. But
my God, what a
yeah, they overdosed her. Then I had to. It was 3 days I sat with it, because of course I have to think, did God have this young nurse intubate her because it's so divine, and is she gonna come back to life, you know? But it's terrible, you know. I told them to take off her rings. They didn't take off her rings. They wanted to amputate her fucking fingers, these terrible people. And my husband's a jeweler, so he had to bring his equipment out to take my mother's rings off of her, you know, and honor her body and her soul. And I actually, my husband and my one of my brothers waited outside the ICU because I brought sage, I brought crystals, and I wanted her to pass with honor and respect. And I loved her so much. And you know, it says no smoke in the ICU room, and my husband's like, "What are you doing lighting sage?" And it's like a plant ceremony in here. Like, you know, we're in the ICU, and for me being like not even attached to this realm, I'm like, everybody can go fuck off. I don't care about anything. So, you know, my brother and husband sat outside of the hospital room. I saged it. It was so funny. All these doctors come running down the hall, and they're like, "The oxygen, you're gonna set a fire." I'm like, "No, I'm not, motherfuckers. Get out of here." It was awesome. And then I pulled the tubes and all that. It was at I was at 11:11, which is interesting because we started this call at 11:11. It was 11:11 p.m. And then my mother, and she died on the last full moon of the century in 2019, which is beautiful. And she always told me she's going to be on the moon. And her funeral was on 12/12. And we did it at 12/12. And I never really shifted to 12/12 because 11 was our thing. And if you look up in numerology, 12/12 it's almost like the ending of all. And it
Yeah.
was just almost like this beautiful transition for her, everything. And it helped me sit with, we can't argue with reality and we can't shift what is. We need to just be with it and do our best with everything. And just like you said, what is this person's shirt? The election's coming up. There's so many things in the world that can divide us. We just have to shift to a place of love and knowing we're all doing our best here with the knowledge that we have, with the tools that we have. And if you don't mind if I say this, I think it's beautiful and the world needs to hear this because I am Jewish. And the other day I interviewed a yoga instructor and he was Palestinian. And I told him, do you know I'm Jewish? Because, the mezuzah on the wall. And he said, yes, I have friends in Israel. And he even owned land in Israel. And I said, oh, this is really cool, because a lot of times the world doesn't think we can communicate with each other from what they see on TV. And he said one thing where it sounded negative to me. And instead of me getting drawn into it, I asked him if he could kind of define what he meant by what he said, totally from an objective space. And what he defined, I totally agreed with him. Everything he said, I totally agreed. And I told him what I was raised of that word and what he thought of it. And I'm not going to go down there because the podcast's almost over, but he agreed with everything I said. And I told him we need to go on Instagram Live because, there is so much similarity within our DNA, within our structure. We're in the same region, the same land, we are all brothers and sisters. And one word means something totally different to me and him. And when we shared the definition, rather than getting caught up in the word to argue and to like call things off, it's like, wow, I agree with what you feel your definition is and your pain behind it. And he agrees with me and what but our definitions were totally different. Oh, wow. And this is me just explaining a conversation without getting too deep and emotional. But it was beautiful because if we go to a space of understanding and communication, like I feel that there could be so much peace in this world because I had no idea he was taught this one thing and he had no idea I was taught this one thing. And this is the ancestral trauma that we carry that we have no fucking clue that someone across this world developed their perspective completely different than you. And everything they do is based on that. So they're doing the best that they can. We're not each other, even though we are one. We have a different experience in our bodies. So that's our human job, is to create the understanding, because heaven on earth is possible, in my opinion. And I think when we have choices, that's what helps heaven on earth. When you take away the choices, medical choices, political freedom, this is when you live in hell on earth. People always think about afterlife, but I think we need to focus on our life now and how we can make a change for the better. So I love you, ladies.
I love that. What a beautiful ending.
I know.
That was, wow, that was wonderful.
And you have to tell, we have to tell all our politicians this story too. I wish we could have these at all of the political, because everyone.
Yeah, we want it. I'm sure I see all this crazy shit. And also to end, when I turn on my phone, which is why it's I'm rarely, and I love all my followers. I love all my followers, but I'm rarely on social media despite what people might think. I'm barefoot, I'm rolling around, I'm giving my blood to the full moon. I'm just a hippie weirdo in the woods. Yeah. But I go to post for my business. But if I'm on there too long, all I get is anti-Semitic things. All I get are things that happen at universities and things that are going on. And I love everybody. And I have friends that are Muslims, and I have friends that are of all religions, including atheists. And I don't care. I love them all. And this gentleman, when he wakes up, because he's like, all I see is Islamophobia and this and that and the other. And I'm like, the world shows me on my phone that they love you and hate me. And then the world on his phone shows him that they hate him and support me. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? We need to trade phones so we can boost our morale, but that's fucked up, come on, analog people. They're doing this on purpose. And
depressed. Yeah,
exactly. And we all want, of course there's darkness in the world, and of course some people want total annihilate, whatever, I don't even know the fucking word because it's not ingrained in me, but you know, to like press the red button and end everything, right? But I think the more that people like me and you connect and speak out loud, the more others will find that light, because I think there's more of us in the light than the dark. And that's a beautiful thing, because the phones show all the dark, and in reality I see all the
Correct.
lights. So my mom would watch the nature channel, and we could end on my mama because I love her, but she would watch the nature channel, all the greenery. She's like, fuck global warming, it's all bullshit, look at all that greenery.
Yeah.
You know, she's
Yeah.
like, they just don't want us outside, the chemtrails. You know, she made me who I am today, and
Yes.
I'm blessed to have that
Yes.
perspective, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful, because the things you resist persist. If you focus on a political issue, you're going to be swarmed with that. It's going to consume your life. In anything, even if you are toxically positive, because you can go down that pathway too and not look at pain at all. And I talk with a lot of people in the spiritual world who've healed from sexual abuse, or veterans or whatever. Veterans are pretty fucking awesome, so let me not include them. But people that will shift completely out of pain and not be able to sit with it at all, or even talk about anything that's hard. And it's almost like you're on a Xanax all day, you know, and you can't get back to reality, and you can't connect in this, you know, realm. It's important to have the good and bad feelings so you can regulate yourself and make changes in the world. Because if you don't feel, you can never heal. And
Amen.
it's important to feel, it's important to connect, because we are humans. No matter how spiritual we are, this is what we are in this body. And we have to do our best.
Love it, Laura.
Thank
You're
you so
incredible.
much, Lauren. Yeah, this has been really special. I think Alex would agree. This has been so like eye-opening and really, and it's been lovely. And so thank you so much for sharing your heart with us today. It's been beautiful in every way.
You're welcome. And if people want to hear more of my story and Alexandra's, we're gonna have the Queen of Biohacking collaborative book coming out. We're working through editing and publishing, but stay tuned for the Queens of Biohacking. And hopefully we can even have you volume 2 as well. Maybe pop in volume 1, you never know. But I'm really excited for all to come. And I'm excited for all the listeners who are hearing this.
And tell us too where everybody can find you on like Instagram and
okay. So it's funny because I opened 6 different businesses. They're like, which one to follow? But my personal account,
give us a couple.
Right? My personal account, which is like 5 degrees away from an OnlyFans page. No, I'm joking. But it is, I'm kidding. But it is Queen of Biohacking. And if you, I always love for people to DM me, because I do have a 16-year-old, and he is in a private school, and he is in travel basketball, and it's a very close community. So he wants my Instagram page to be private. And I do respect, you know, the men in my life, and he doesn't want his friends to see me go from colostomy bag to like fine ass booty. So, you know, it is a private page, so you do have to request. And I have like over 2,000 pending requests, but if people don't DM me, I'm not going to allow them in. My public page is the Exerscience Center, and I'll send you guys all of this. Maybe you could link it, but the Exerscience Center. And then we also have Zen Powerhouse now, because I opened up a hot yoga studio that's becoming multi-dimensional, because we're going to have sister circles and so much more, biohacking workshops. So Queen of Biohacking, the Exerscience Center, and Zen Powerhouse.
Amazing. Oh man, I wish we lived in Tampa, Alex. That would be,
I know.
We got to come visit you. I would be there like
hey, well, I'm working on multiplying myself. So if you're my doppelganger and you want to like take over one of my centers and allow me to go build one somewhere else, I'm hiring. I'm always multiplying. We don't die, we multiply. Twerk,
That's
twerk.
it. You never stop.
Right? I was twerking for you guys. I know you felt it.
Oh goodness.
Oh, that's a cool thing to do too. That's super exciting.
Yeah, so I can't wait. When is your guys' next event? Where are you going to be? Where can I see you? Where can everybody see you?
Where are we going to be next? I'm going to be dancing on the tables in Saint-Tropez in 2 weeks.
Ooh,
find
Ooh,
me.
that is going to be amazing.
And I'll be in London. So I'll be in London first. I have a bunch of meetings in London and then working on some big stuff there. And then I'm going to Saint Tropez for fun with my wonderful girlfriends and
Mm,
London. And then
We're
I think
we're going to be in
October.
Boulder together too. We're going to the big Dragonfly conference in Boulder.
nice, nice.
Up October, which is going to be really cool. Going to be much bigger this year than it was the previous year too. So that'll be
That's
very. We're speaking
awesome.
on a panel together too there, which is going to be
Yeah.
exciting.
Oh, I will have to tune in. I'm going to, so the next conference I'm doing is the BioBiz Bash in Arizona.
Okay.
And that is the first weekend of September. And people can use code QUEEN for a discount. And then I'm
Nice.
doing the brain fitness optimization event in Vegas. It's with Dr. Porter and Tom Brady's trainer, Alex Guerrero. And it's going to be at the Venetian in Las Vegas. And after that, we're going to the Ultimate Wellness in Faena, Miami.
I'll be there. We'll be there.
Okay, we're gonna have to do a cute little picture, and maybe we'll do like a Bio Royale meetup. Let's do that.
Yes.
When we're down there. So maybe if you know anywhere, the Biohack Lab, or shout out to the Biohack Lab if anybody wants to host our Bio Royale meetup. We have a
Yes.
biohacking WhatsApp group, and it's grown. It's almost 200 members, which is awesome. We have a private group for the speakers, and you guys are speakers, so I hope both of you are in the Bio Royale. And that's what Dr. Porter and Rudy from Viva Rays and Certified Health Nut, Troy Casey. There's a lot of awesome people in there. So I'm really excited about that group growing and all that has come out of it. So I look forward to seeing you guys there.
Absolutely.
So great. This is wonderful. Thank you so much, Lauren. And this has been such a treasure.
Oh, well, I love you, goddesses. I love you, queens. And I will see you. Yes, I cannot wait. So you'll see me flying through the aisle. You'll have to bring a butterfly catcher.
Yes.
Skipping and skating through the aisles for sure. Well, we always know when you're on your way. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm doing, I would love to share this with you. I'm doing like this intro video for like my podcast. I'm having the Queen of Biohacking raw and uncensored. And like my intro for the video, I'm in like a child's pose. And I look like a Marine, like muddy and terrible, like as my face comes up, but then my wings come out, because it's from pain to purpose. And you can kind of see my story in my wings. And I'm just so excited about this project.
That's so great. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I can't wait to share. I love you guys, and I will see you soon.
Yes. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.